Welcome to the Global Risk Podcast, brought to you by Solace Global. In each episode, we share concise, intelligence-led updates on developments that have the potential to shape the international security landscape. In today's briefing, insights from South Asia, Central Africa, and South America. First, we hear from Manfredi with a look ahead to key dates in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Mexico.
Our team provides periodic coverage of the main events that are likely to impact international security over the next month. I have selected 3 upcoming events and dates that are going to impact security at different locations. Firstly, the 5th of August is going to be a very important day in South Asia. There are protests scheduled to occur in Pakistan in support of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan. These protests have been supported by the leaders of Imran Khan's PTI party and will likely coincide with a march on Islamabad. Previous cases of large-scale protest in Pakistan have resulted in violence involving the police and the protesters. And in the past weeks, Pakistani government has established a new paramilitary force with crowd control responsibilities, creating worries that this might be used to quash the unrest. In addition, on the same day, the first anniversary of the August revolution in Bangladesh is occurring. On this date, a long-term Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was removed from power by a student-led revolution and fled to India. This is obviously an extremely politically important date and will likely coincide with various celebrations and commemorative events. Since the revolution, there have been several cases of mob violence in Bangladesh and sectarian clashes, often led by the youth wings of the major political parties. Further clashes cannot be ruled out. Finally, on 9th of August, a new wave of the anti-tourism protests are scheduled to occur in Mexico City. This protest movement has staged their first large-scale demonstration on the 4th of July, and it is protesting the influx of expats and remote workers, mostly US citizens, that has occurred in Mexico City since the pandemic, which organizers blame as responsible for the increases in the cost of living and also in rental prices in the city. Past protests have been largely peaceful, but have had some occasional reports of harassment targeting foreigners in Mexico City. It is possible that on the 9th of August, similar cases will occur in central Mexico City.
Next, we turn to Central Africa. Here's Josh reporting on recent violence in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the current state of peace negotiations.
2 separate noteworthy incidents have occurred in the DRC over the past couple of weeks. The first is that on the 27th of July, the Islamic State-aligned ADF militants attacked a Catholic church in Commander in the Ituri province. In this attack on a church, at least 43 people were killed. ADF members also attacked and burned houses and shops nearby, displacing approximately 30,000 people. This constitutes part of a series of reprisal attacks for DRC and Ugandan forces shelling their largest and most important camp near Lolwa on the 6th of July. Further reprisal attacks are highly likely, primarily in the DRC, but also there is a realistic possibility of bombing attacks in Kampala, which constitutes a long-term target for the ADF. They were originally a Ugandan group, and there was an attempted suicide bombing in early June. It's likely that something similar will occur in the coming month. The second noteworthy incident in the DRC over the past couple of weeks is that on the 19th of July, the DRC government and M23 group signed a Qatari-brokered Declaration of Principles. This follows the DRC-Rwanda peace agreement on the 27th of June, which was mediated by the United States, and it essentially acts as a preliminary peace agreement. It includes that both sides must refrain from attacks, hate propaganda, and any attempt to seize by force any new positions on the ground. A final peace agreement is due by the 18th of August. Despite this agreement, however, clashes between M23 and government-aligned Wazalendo militia have continued. There's also a disagreement over key points. The government believes that the agreement includes the non-negotiable withdrawal of M23 from occupied territories, including Goma and Bukavu. M23 have denied this, and this will highly likely be a sticking point which could lead to the collapse of the peace talks. M23, we assess, are unlikely to give up their positions that they've captured in 2025 without a fight. In terms of regional escalation, if the peace agreement breaks down, I think what we're looking for really is M23 attempting to capture more territory in North and South Kivu. Particular places of note are Uvira, near the border with Burundi, and Butembo, near the Ituri province, which is also where Ugandan forces are stationed to counter the ADF insurgency. If either of these cities fall, this could significantly escalate tensions.
To close, we move to South America. Julian provides an update on Ecuador's shifting security landscape, following the extradition of a key gang leader.
On the 20th of July 2025, the leader of Ecuador's largest gang was extradited to the USA. This is important because it fits within a wider context since at least 2017 of increased armed criminal violence in Ecuador. Between 2017 and 2023, for example, the homicide rate increased from 5 to 46 per 100,000 people. This has been attributed to multiple reasons. Firstly, there were austerity measures, particularly in the prisons in 2017, conducted by the government. But also the wider regional picture is the peace agreement that led to the disbandment of FARC, the paramilitary group in Colombia, led to FARC dissidents moving their cocaine trafficking operations to Ecuador, which is a strategically important location due to its major ports, particularly Guayaquil. In January 2024, Vito's escape from prison triggered a significant wave of violence across Ecuador, including the dramatic storming of a television studio by armed criminals. In response to this, President Noboa declared a state of emergency, and that Ecuador was experiencing an internal armed conflict. This did lead to a significant number of evacuations of foreign nationals across Ecuador, with these evacuations being complicated by the dangers of ground movement at the time and several carriers suspending flights. After 17 months on the run as Ecuador's most wanted fugitive, Vito was captured on the 25th of June, and quite rapidly then he has been extradited to the USA. In terms of the outlook for risk in Ecuador, the primary risk comes from the fragmentation of Ecuador's largest gang. This would likely increase the level of violence in the short to medium term, which is a trend that is reflected elsewhere as well. For example, at the end of, I believe it was December 2020, the previous leader of this gang was assassinated, and this led to a year of increased violence in Ecuador. Whilst this was largely limited to the prisons, that particular outbreak of violence, there was also a presidential candidate that was assassinated in August 2021. There is already an active gang war ongoing in Ecuador, and this is likely to be exacerbated if there is a power vacuum in the gang, Los Choneros. In the first half of 2025 already, there has been over 4,200 deaths attributed to gang violence, which is approximately 1 homicide per hour. This makes Ecuador the worst place for homicide in South America. Just recently, in one day, on the 19th of July, 10 people were killed in a single attack. And additionally, 2,000 soldiers were deployed to Manabi after a surge of homicides in the region. In terms of the primary hotspots for gang violence in Ecuador, this is largely concentrated in the coastal areas, particularly Guayaquil, but also Manta. And while Quito is less at threat from persistent levels of severe gang violence, during periods such as in January 2024, Quito can also get impacted.
That concludes this episode of the Global Risk Podcast. These updates form part of the Global Intelligence subscription, which includes weekly reports, in-depth briefings, and live Q&A opportunities with our experts. To learn more, visit solisglobal.com. Thank you for listening.